My name is Alexis Salazar, and I am the Mental Health Program Director with Alternative Family Services, and it has been such rewarding work. And really, I've watched the work change so much, especially in the last year, with how we've all been impacted with this COVID pandemic.
My name's Cala, and I've been with AFS for coming up on 29 years. I've always worked with the young teenagers in foster care, running the independent living program, and it's expanded over the years.
Hi, my name is Leslie Matthews, and I'm the Director of Foster Care and Adoptions here at AFS. I have been with AFS for 9 years, primarily serving out of the Sacramento area, but approving homes throughout the agency.
I'm Jay Berlin. I'm the founder and CEO of Alternative Family Services.
My name's Zeta Jackson Mays. I'm a former foster youth who's currently going to College of Marin, and I'm going to be transferring in the fall for art history and sculpture. I call myself a sculptor because that's what I was primarily interested in when I started, and I still do sculpture work, and I still really enjoy it. But lately I've been doing a lot of drawing and illustrations as well. So there's those two aspects, and then when it comes to like my subject work, I primarily work figuratively, so the human body.
It has been devastating to see how much of our worlds have been shifted in such a way that really impacts the day-to-day living, the routines, all of the things that were familiar, comfortable, and safe for our youth who already struggled with an added layer of complexity with being part of the child welfare and mental health system of care. So really to just think about what our youth have experienced being in an environment where virtual therapy has been offered to them, but maybe they haven't been able to have a safe space with confidentiality, and even beyond confidentiality, just a safe space to be able to fall apart, if you will, and still be held by their clinician or by their caregivers in a way that maybe they have prior to the pandemic. To physically get out of that environment or physically get away and actually meet with their clinician in the community how they would, or coming into the office and being able to have a little snack and just break away from some of that busy routine has really impacted our youth in the form of not really knowing where is safe, where can I really let my guard down.
The biggest challenge this year obviously was dealing with COVID. So we had a lot of operation, most of it in person. Training sessions, foster parent support sessions, staff meetings, everything had to be shifted to online. We did that without missing a beat, but that meant getting a lot of technology to a lot of people. Not every family had a computer. Not every foster family knew how to use a computer. Certainly the kids had to move from going to school to online learning. We had to get every single one of them some kind of a device to do that, which we did. When a foster parent needed a social worker to come out to the home, they did. We covered them with PPE. We were very careful. We did all the meetings that we could outside, but when we needed to be there and present, we were. I'm really proud of the staff about that. Our visitation center also never stopped. We bought state-of-the-art sanitation equipment. You know, the greatest predictor of family reunification, that is to get kids out of foster care, to go back home, the greatest predictor is visitation. The more the families and the kids see each other, the greater likelihood that the kids will go back home. So we continued our visitation center all through the pandemic. We were very careful. I am really proud of the staff and the families and the way that they adapted to this thing. It wasn't easy, and everybody knows what COVID was. We all of us in the world, not just at AFS, were fighting with having to deal everything on the computer, doing our work in a different way, the lack of human contact, but our people came through. It was really their finest hour.
Yeah, I've had my fair share of struggles, including, I think, like everybody else, isolation, depression, and for me, I also have some eating issues, which I generally struggle with even outside the pandemic. So in the last year, AFS has helped me in the various ways, such as learning how to budget, providing financial aid in terms of foodstuffs. So they occasionally bring me food items. They give me monthly food checks. They also occasionally go and get lunch with me in weekly meetings that I have with them. And that has also helped in terms of like dealing with social isolation and helping fulfill my social needs. Because not only are they interested in helping me deal with my living situation, but they're also genuinely interested in the subjects that I'm interested in. I think when I grow up, I have this, I think everybody has like an idea of like, oh, you're supposed to be this, or like in my case, it's like you're supposed to be an artist. You must be like famous and successful. But I think with my art, I think I would be happy if I got good enough to be, I guess, at the most locally famous. Very low ambitions when it comes to that. But I would really enjoy, I think, learning how to build things like houses or other things like that. So I think I'm going to end up going into construction or architecture eventually. And then I want to help communities through mutual aid and helping those who are in need.
So really, technology being a big obstacle for our youth and in our lower economic communities, and really connecting them to something that is stable, that's reliable, is kind of the hard part, because we're in flux. That trauma is very real, and we need to treat it as something that is to be learned about and curious about and hold space for, rather than shun or shame or blame.
So there are quite a few issues. Probably the main ones are education, getting a good job or getting your career going so that you can transition out and make enough money to live off of. You have to hit on all those areas in order for young people to be able to have a successful transition. Many of us had our own parents who we would call if we got into some kind of a jam. And lots of times these young people don't have that. You can call when you lost your job or got kicked out of your apartment, somewhere to go for the holidays. That's really just so crucial.
So some of the concerns that I have for the future are in line with the distance learning and transitioning kids back to in-person. Any types of change are difficult for most of our foster youth. So in the future, we just need to continue what we're already doing, which is supporting our resource parents and our children and teachers, so that our kids have a smooth transition back to school, as we know how important education is.
Teacher?
It's my job to worry. That's all I do. And everybody has risen to the occasion. The way that we didn't stop, we didn't have one layoff. We didn't lose one employee because of COVID.
It was really difficult when the pandemic started, trying to figure out how we were going to continue normal operations. And our CRITA team, specifically our training team, figured out how to use Zoom and be interactive and produce good products and support our foster parents through training. We've had such good feedback in regards to the training provided. We
had, I believe, about 1,000 kids go through the program since COVID began. So we were doing our job. We also operate an emergency placement program for the County of San Francisco, and we take kids in 24 hours a day. And that can be Christmas Day, 4th of July, 2 o'clock in the morning, we're there. So we didn't stop. The general public thinks of grocery workers and delivery people and certainly healthcare workers as essential workers, and we're all very thankful that they are. But we're at AFS, we're essential workers too. When a kid is in trouble and that kid needs shelter, we're there.
The kids need more homes, more homes to provide support to our current resource parents and to take in new kids. The kids are continuing to come into placement. And so we need more homes. So that's a challenge that our agency continues to have. The pandemic has made it even more difficult, but with our staff in place and our current resource parents assisting us, we hope to locate and secure some more resource parents for our kids. We are an agency that supports our foster youth. And if that's money for classes, to go on school trips, whatever, so that they live well-rounded lives, AFS finds the money for that, and with your help, you can make that happen on a larger scale.
I think kids need internships so that they can actually get a paying job that pays a living wage.
I think the biggest word that comes up for me right now is compassion. Having compassion for ourselves as we do this work, having compassion for the child that is trying to navigate their day-to-day, that is no longer what they expected, what they planned for. So we really, hopefully, will open up this conversation so that we're all thinking about each other's mental health in different ways, not just as it relates to youth who have experienced trauma, but also how do we prevent that? How do we keep ourselves safe before we get there? How do we keep our children safe before we get there?
What the kids need most right now is connection. They've been severed from their friends. They've been severed from their regular school, their regular routines. You can only do so much online. So school, personal connection, connection with teachers, with other adults, and in our cases, connection with their extended families who maybe they've had more limited connection with than they normally would have, is what they really need.
I think what I need most is help with preparing myself for the next stage of my life, which I think is going to be going to university and then going through all of that and figuring out what my plan is after that and making sure that I transition into adult life outside of school successfully, which I am already gaining help with, but I think that's very critical in my at this stage in my life right now.